When I think back to the most terrifying night of my life, one moment always comes to mind first. Not the break-in, not the chase through the woods, not even the scream that still wakes me up some nights. It was a simple phone call, a prank call. One question from a stranger that instantly turned an ordinary sleepover into a nightmare. I was 15 years old at the time. My best friend Anthony had invited me over for the weekend because his parents were going to be away. To two teenage boys, that sounded like freedom. No rules, no supervision, and an entire weekend to ourselves. That evening, I rode my bike across town and left it in Anthony's backyard before letting myself in through the back door. The house felt unusually quiet without his parents there. It was the kind of silence that makes every room seem bigger than normal. At first, everything was exactly what you would expect from a weekend sleepover. We spent hours playing video games. FIFA turned into Call of Duty. Call of Duty turned into whatever game happened to be next in the pile. Empty soda cans accumulated around us while popcorn and junk food ended up scattered across the carpet. The hours slipped by unnoticed. Outside, darkness settled over the neighborhood. Inside, we were completely absorbed in our own little world. Eventually, we got bored of gaming and decided to watch a movie. Halfway through it, neither of us cared about the plot anymore. We kept talking over it until we finally muted the television and started looking for something else to do. That was when Anthony suggested prank calls. At the time, it seemed harmless. Funny, something stupid kids did when they were bored. Anthony made a few calls first, mostly pizza places. He would ask ridiculous questions and hang up laughing before anyone could respond. By the time it was my turn, I figured I'd try calling random numbers instead. The first few attempts went nowhere. No answer. Voicemail. Disconnected lines. Then on my fourth or fifth try, someone picked up. A man answered. What immediately stood out was his voice. It wasn't normal. It was deep, rough, the kind of voice that sounded like gravel scraping against concrete. Instead of saying hello, he simply said, "Yeah." Anthony started laughing in the background, which completely threw me off. I stumbled over my words and nearly started laughing myself. I had never made a prank call before, and I was terrible at it. The man remained silent, just listening, waiting. Finally, I managed to say something. Sir, would it be all right if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car?" For a second, there was only silence. Then he asked a question, a simple question, one that changed everything. "What's your name, kid?" I remember forcing a laugh and answering without thinking. "My name is Bob." The lie sounded ridiculous the second it left my mouth. The man didn't laugh. He didn't hesitate. Instead, he calmly replied, "Really?" A brief pause followed. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "You sure it's not Anthony?" The room went completely silent. It felt as if all the air had suddenly disappeared. I looked across the room at Anthony. The smile had vanished from his face. His eyes were wide. For the first time that night, neither of us was laughing. I immediately hung up. My hand was actually shaking as I placed the phone down. "Anthony, who the hell was that?" "I don't know," he said. His voice sounded genuinely frightened. We started trying to figure it out. Maybe caller ID somehow showed our names. Maybe there was some feature we didn't know about, but none of it made sense. Anthony checked. His family's phone only displayed his father's information. There was no reason a stranger should have known Anthony's name, especially that quickly. We sat at the computer searching for answers. Every explanation we found felt impossible. The internet wasn't helping. The more we looked, the stranger it seemed. Eventually, we even posted a question online asking if anyone had experienced something similar. Nothing useful came back. No answers. No explanations. Just confusion. I suggested calling his dad. Looking back, that would have been the smart thing to do. Anthony refused. His parents had specifically told him not to have anyone over. If he called them, he'd have to explain why I was there. To a 15-year-old, getting caught seemed like the bigger problem. So we convinced ourselves it was nothing. Just some weird coincidence. Some random guy messing with us. We returned to the movie and tried to forget about it. For a while, it worked. The tension faded. The phone call became just another strange story. Then we heard something. A metallic sound from the front of the house. Anthony looked at me. I looked at him. The sound came again. The front storm door was opening. Neither of us moved. Then came another noise. The unmistakable rattle of a doorknob. Someone was trying the front door. The knob twisted. Stopped. Twisted again. The lock prevented it from turning all the way. Anthony immediately muted the television. The house fell silent. Every tiny sound suddenly seemed amplified. I slowly walked toward the front window, my pulse hammered in my ears. Carefully, I pulled apart the blinds. Standing outside was a tall man. The moment the blinds shifted, his head snapped toward me. Our eyes met, only for a second, but it was enough. I instantly dropped the blinds and stumbled backward. He saw me, I whispered. The fear in Anthony's face told me everything. Someone was outside. Someone was trying to get in. And somehow, deep down, both of us were already thinking about that phone call. Neither of us knew what to do. The living room suddenly felt exposed. Unsafe. We quietly retreated into the kitchen and listened. For several seconds there was nothing. Then came another sound. A gate opening. The backyard gate. My heart sank instantly. The kitchen window faced directly toward the backyard. Whoever had been at the front of the house was now behind it. And then I remembered something. The back door. I had never closed it after arriving. God damn it, I whispered. Anthony's eyes widened. Go shut it. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to, but leaving it open felt even worse. Slowly, I moved toward the hallway leading to the back door. The house seemed unnaturally quiet. Every floorboard felt louder than normal beneath my feet. Then I stopped. Frozen. A silhouette stood outside the glass. A dark human shape, perfectly still, looking into the house. For a second I hoped he hadn't seen me. Maybe I could back away unnoticed. Then the door opened. The figure stepped inside. I didn't wait. I immediately turned and hurried back toward the kitchen. Anthony saw my face and understood without me saying a word. Someone was inside. We had seconds, maybe less. I motioned upstairs. We moved as quietly as possible. Every step felt impossibly loud. We reached Anthony's bedroom and carefully closed the door behind us. The room was dark, silent. Our breathing sounded deafening. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to escape. So we crawled beneath his bed. Fortunately, cloth hung around the lower edges of the frame, hiding anything underneath unless someone deliberately looked. We lay flat against the floor, listening. Downstairs, doors opened, one after another. A closet, a bathroom, a bedroom. Each sound seemed closer than the last. The intruder was searching the house, searching for us. Then came footsteps, heavy, slow, methodical. They reached the staircase. Thump, thump, thump. Each step carried him higher, closer. My entire body tensed. The footsteps stopped outside the bedroom. The door opened. Someone entered. Anthony's breathing immediately became a problem. It was fast, loud, panicked. The intruder moved toward the closet. The closet door opened. Hangers scraped together. Fabric rustled. The sound seemed impossibly clear in the silence. Then the footsteps moved again, toward the bed, toward us. And then they stopped, directly beside the mattress. I thought my heart might actually burst from my chest. Anthony's breathing grew louder. I quickly pressed my hand over his mouth. For several endless seconds, nobody moved. Nobody made a sound. The room became completely silent. The kind of silence that feels wrong, like something terrible is waiting just beyond it. Time stretched. Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe 3 minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. Eventually, I started wondering if he had left. Maybe he was gone. Maybe we still had a chance. I slowly moved my hand from Anthony's mouth. Leaning close, I whispered, "Do you think we can make a run for it?" Anthony turned toward me to answer. But before a single word came out, everything exploded into chaos. The scream that followed is something I still remember with absolute clarity. Not because it was loud, because it sounded wrong. It was a horrifying, rage-filled scream that seemed to erupt from directly above us. Before either of us could react, Anthony was suddenly yanked from beneath the bed. 1 second he was beside me. The next he was gone. His terrified shout filled the room. I scrambled backward and crawled out from under the bed. The scene in front of me felt unreal. Anthony was struggling with the man. The intruder towered over him. Everything happened so fast that my brain barely kept up. I desperately searched for something, anything, I could use. My eyes landed on a screwdriver sitting on Anthony's nightstand. Without thinking, I grabbed it. Fear completely took over. I ran toward the man and drove the screwdriver into his back. The reaction was immediate. He released Anthony and let out a scream of agony. That single moment saved us. We didn't stay to see what happened next. We ran, straight out of the room, down the stairs, out of the house. The cold night air hit us like a wall. Running down the road seemed too dangerous. The neighbors felt too far away. Instead, we headed for the woods behind the property. Branches scraped against us as we rushed into the darkness. Eventually, we dove behind a bush and watched the house. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the back door opened. The man stepped outside. Even from a distance, I could feel him searching, looking, hunting. He scanned the yard slowly. Then his attention shifted toward the woods, toward us. I felt my muscles lock. His gaze swept across the tree line. For a moment, it seemed too dark for him to see anything. Then his head turned back, directly toward our hiding spot. I ducked instantly. "He's coming," I whispered. "What?" "He's coming." Anthony looked and immediately understood. The man was moving toward us. Fast. Neither of us knew how he had spotted us. Maybe he saw movement. Maybe he never lost track of where we ran. Whatever the reason, he was closing the distance. We took off deeper into the woods. Leaves crunched loudly beneath our shoes. Every step felt like a beacon announcing our location. Behind us came the sounds of pursuit. Then Anthony stumbled. He crashed to the ground. I dropped beside him. We pressed ourselves flat among the leaves and waited. Footsteps approached rapidly. Closer, closer. Then they slowed. Only a couple of trees away. I barely dared breathe. The footsteps lingered. Seconds felt like hours. Then suddenly they moved off in another direction. The sound faded through the woods. Neither of us moved. We waited until we could no longer hear him. Only then did we finally stand. Neither of us spoke. We simply started running again. Instead of continuing deeper into the woods, we made a decision that sounds strange now. We ran back toward the house. At the time, it felt like our only option. The house at least had a phone. The house had locks. The house gave us a chance to call for help. As we ran, I kept hearing something behind us. The crunch of leaves. Heavy breathing mixed with my own. Every few seconds, I glanced over my shoulder expecting to see the man charging through the darkness. Thankfully, I never did. When we finally reached the backyard, we rushed inside and immediately secured the back door. This time we made sure it was locked. No mistakes. No forgotten entrances. Anthony grabbed the phone and called the police. His voice shook as he explained what had happened. While he stayed on the line, I moved from window to window checking outside. The darkness beyond the glass seemed endless. The backyard was almost completely swallowed by shadow. I couldn't see much of anything. That uncertainty was somehow worse. The feeling that someone could be standing out there watching without being seen. Then I made a decision that seemed reasonable at the time. Today, I realize it was incredibly risky. I turned on the backyard lights. The flood of illumination pushed back the darkness. And immediately I saw him, far beyond the yard, near the edge of the woods, standing beside a large tree, perfectly still, watching. Even at that distance, the sight made my blood run cold. The moment the lights came on, he turned. Without hesitation, he walked back into the trees. Within seconds, the darkness swallowed him completely. He disappeared, and that was the last time either of us ever saw him. Police eventually arrived and searched the area. Nothing came of it. No arrest. No explanation. No clear answer regarding who he was or why he targeted that house. Years have passed since that night. 5 years, to be exact. Nothing strange ever happened afterward. No mysterious knocks. No stalking. No threatening messages. No return visits. Just silence. And yet one question has never left me. Was it connected to the prank call? Part of me thinks it had to be. The timing feels impossible to ignore. A stranger somehow knowing Anthony's name, then a man showing up at the house shortly afterward. But when I try to make sense of it logically, nothing fits. There are too many gaps. Too many unanswered questions. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. What I do know is this. On what should have been a normal weekend sleepover, my best friend Anthony and I came terrifyingly close to becoming victims of a home intruder. And even now, years later, I still remember that rough voice on the phone asking one simple question. "What's your name, kid?" Because looking back, it feels